Hi, it's me, the storyteller. Thank you for joining me. Most of my stories on this channel are based on actual events, and some aren't. I'll let you decide if this story is fiction, or if it's not. With a little over 9,000 square miles, Vermont is the 8th smallest state in North America, but makes up over 4.5 million acres of forest. This includes the beautiful Green Mountains, with their stunning landscapes, dense forests, and intricate trails, evoking a sense of tranquility and adventure. However, beneath the veneer of serene beauty lies a terrifying narrative filled with mystery and unanswered questions. The disappearance of a man whose fate remains unknown. On August 16, 1997, 68-year-old Tom Avery, a retired post office manager, an avid hiker, and nature enthusiast, embarked on a solo trek into the heart of the Green Mountains. Friends and family knew him as a dependable family man with a deep-seated faith and love for the outdoors. As a native Vermonter, Tom was a seasoned adventurer who possessed extensive knowledge of the area, weather patterns, and hiking safety. He had planned a weekend camping getaway with a family friend, Fred Mayfer, on 3 familiar trails he had hiked before inside of the Mount Mansfield State Forest. Mount Mansfield is known for its face-shaped peaks which can be seen from a distance. Tom intended to hike the Hellbrook Trail, a 3.5-mile loop considered to be a challenging route to the chin of Mount Mansfield, and the next day he would hike the Bruce Trail and Smuggler's Notch trails. But on the morning of the 16th, Fred canceled at the last minute due to chronic diverticulitis. But Tom's excitement didn't deter him from his plans and was confident about the trip, having traveled to the area many times. His wife, Mary, encouraged him to postpone the trip because she didn't feel comfortable of him going alone. However, Mary stated Tom was highly driven and wouldn't back down from a challenge. Tom assured his wife he would have plenty of food, water, and would take his trail map and compass along. Tom packed his gear in his 1993 gray Ford Taurus, kissed his wife, and drove the 2.5 hours to Mount Mansfield from his home in Chester. As he drove through Vermont's capital, Montpelier, he noticed quite a storm coming from the north. Unpredictable weather patterns are common near the Green Mountains, so this was not completely unexpected. It is believed that Tom pivoted from his original plan and decided to start his hike at Smuggler's Notch, which was the location he was originally going to conclude his trip. This turn of events is what set into motion one of the most bizarre missing person cases in North America. Mary Avery became concerned when Tom didn't return on the morning of the 18th. Around 2 p.m., she called local law enforcement. Tom's absence quickly raised alarm. The police launched an extensive search operation, enlisting local law enforcement, volunteers, and search and rescue teams, totaling over 750 people. Authorities were able to quickly identify Tom's 1993 gray Ford Taurus at the Smuggler's Notch trailhead, which contained his wallet and trail map with markings of his planned route. The following narrative was put together by investigators, along with some speculation. According to Tom's plans, Smuggler's Notch was indeed going to be the tail end of his trip. Authorities wondered if he had changed his mind at the last minute due to the storm. Oddly, his keys were discovered on the ground just under the driver's side door. Tom's wife, Mary, stated that he was a very meticulous person, having worked the postal system, and that, along with his change of plans, dropping his keys and leaving his trail map was way out of character. This left many scratching their heads, asking the question as to why something so obvious as his map would be disregarded. It is believed, since Tom reversed his trip, he was in a hurry and was concerned with the approaching storm, and simply left his car hastily toward the clearly defined path. SAR teams scoured the trails, combing through the dense underbrush, attempting to retrace his steps. Helicopters hovered above, and trained dogs were deployed in the hope of picking up his scent, but the dense forest offered little evidence of Tom's whereabouts. Like many missing persons cases, canines failed to pick up any leads. Later that evening, search teams faced challenges, including sudden thunderstorms and fog that rolled in, obscuring visibility. The case drew not only local attention but also captured national headlines. Days later, a young couple named Jesse Moore and Sienna Martinez came forward and told authorities they were hiking Smuggler's Notch on August 17th, and that they did see a man they believed to have been Tom. They stated the man appeared to be in good spirits, but did seem in a hurry. They asked him to take a photo of them, and he did oblige. Before they parted ways, the man asked if they knew of a good place to make camp. Unfortunately, they didn't. Jesse and Sienna thanked him for the photo and watched him turn and continue up the trail. Searches continued fruitlessly as the hope of finding Tom began to wane. However, on October 21st, the situation took a turn when investigators discovered Tom's abandoned gear 2.5 miles off of the long trail of Mount Mansfield. His tent and backpack were found undisturbed, but animals had gotten to his food and other supplies. One troubling detail that stood out was that Tom's hiking boots were left near his tent. Local trackers identified what they believed were Tom's footprints in and around the campsite, but seemed to reveal Tom was wandering. This had many asking the questions. Did he get up in the middle of the night to relieve himself, wander too far and, due to the darkness, not be able to find his way back? Did he encounter an emergency and retreat quickly? And why would he leave his boots behind? With these questions unanswered, local lore about the mountains began to resurface. Stories were shared about hikers who had previously vanished in the area, some confounding experts with their inexplicable lack of evidence. The Green Mountains, while popular among outdoor enthusiasts, have a history of unexplainable disappearances which have led to speculation. Some locals whispered about hidden and unexplored caverns, while others suggested the existence of malevolent forces that might draw unsuspecting hikers into the wilderness. One popular theory was that of the Bennington Monster, a long-believed cryptid described as a large, Bigfoot or dogman-like creature with black hair, standing over 7 feet tall, said to roam the Bennington Triangle, a phrase coined by American author Joseph Citro to denote an area of southwestern Vermont, the location where 4 people disappeared in the 1940s and 50s, namely near the mountains of Glastonbury. The first of these in the Bennington Triangle involved Riley Madden, a 73-year-old experienced hunting guide. In October 1945, Madden led a group of 4 hunters near Glastonbury Mountain. During the excursion, Madden became separated from the group. He was never seen again. Despite extensive searches by law enforcement and volunteers, no trace of Madden was ever found. Just 1 year later, in the winter of 1946, a 19-year-old college student named Wendy Gale vanished while hiking the Long Trail near Glastonbury Mountain. This is the southern portion of the Long Trail in which Tom Avery was planning to hike. Gale had informed her roommate that she intended to go for a short hike, but she never returned. The subsequent search involved hundreds of volunteers, including military personnel, but no evidence was ever discovered. Gale's disappearance remains one of the most puzzling cases in the region's history. Another mystifying incident within the Bennington Triangle that gained significant attention involved the disappearance of 5-year-old Johnny Burkett. On October 11, 1950, Johnny vanished from his family's Glastonbury farmhouse. A massive search involving the Vermont State Police and the U.S. Army was launched. It was reported that a motorist spotted a young boy matching Johnny's description walking along the roadside, but the claim was never substantiated. The disappearance of Johnny Burkett added to the haunting mystique of the Bennington Triangle. The final victim of the Bennington Triangle was 23-year-old Frances Littmeyer, which could be the most perplexing of the 5 cases, disappeared on October 28, 1950, only 16 days after young Johnny Burkett. While camping near the Somerset Reservoir, Frances and her cousin Hal Fuller went on a hike. Littmeyer ended up falling into a creek and needed a change of clothes. She told her cousin she would go back to camp, change, and promptly return, but she never did. Despite extensive search efforts involving multiple people, she could not be found. However, this case would prove to have a different outcome compared to the previous disappearances in the area. On May 15, 1951, over 6 months after Littmeyer's disappearance, a skeletonized body was discovered 3.5 miles away from the family's campsite. The remains were positively identified as those of Frances Littmeyer. A chilling detail was the position of the remains. The skull and torso were buried in a hole, and the pelvis and legs were exposed, yet both feet were missing. Due to their deteriorated state, the cause of death remained undetermined. Sources say she may have fallen into the hole, while others suggest she was placed there. Although the Bennington Triangle harbored mysterious disappearances in the early 19th century, there had not been a case like Frances Littmeyer's since. Most locals suggest that the Bennington Monster is just a scary bedtime story, meant to keep children close when the sun goes down. However, there have been sightings of the creature as recent as 2003 near Route 7 in the area of Ferrisburg. Some argue that the Bennington Monster had not been reported in the northern part of the Green Mountains, where Tom Avery had gone missing. But cryptozoologists suggest it could have migrated due to food and water sources, an unsettling notion in an otherwise peaceful landscape. The search for Tom Avery concluded after several weeks without a trace, and as winter approached, the hope of locating Tom was becoming far less likely. SAR teams dwindled and resources became less prevalent as state and local costs reached over $500,000. The case became a source of collective speculation in the local community. News outlets buzzed with new theories and ideas. Many hoped more clues would emerge, while others connected similar cases to posit that something darker was at play. The family, unfortunately, was left grappling with a profound sense of loss and confusion. Then, on November 29, 1997, a local fly fisherman made a grisly discovery near the Seymour River. Tom's skeletal remains were found slumped and hanging 10 feet up a hemlock tree. When authorities investigated the scene, Tom's mostly decomposed remains were still inside his clothing. His compass was inside of his trousers and was discovered to be off about 10 degrees. Some passed it off as a defective compass, while others determined that nearby granite boulders could cause the discrepancy. More disturbing still, like the case of Frances Littmeyer, investigators didn't find any foot bones below Tom's torn trousers. The county coroner's office determined that Tom died of natural causes, but regarding the missing feet, animal predation was the assumption, due to the gnaw marks at the base of the tibias. But they failed to determine what kind of animal was responsible. A bear, mountain lion, or something else. Curiously, Tom's remains were discovered about 100 miles north from where Frances Littmeyer's were found. Did Tom become disoriented in the middle of the night? Was he lured away from his camp by another hiker with ill intent? Did something in the cover of darkness startle him, causing him to flee his campsite and go into hiding, further leading him to becoming lost? And why did Tom climb into a hemlock tree? Despite these questions, Tom Avery's disappearance remains an unresolved mystery, echoing through the valleys of the Green Mountains. His story is a haunting reminder of the powerful forces of nature, the risks of the great outdoors, and the unpredictability of life itself. As new hikers continue to explore the verdant trails, Tom's spirit follows in the whispers of the wind, reminding those who tread on the mountains to honor their surroundings and respect the wilderness, ever mindful of its beauty and its dangers. As each year passes without answers, the yearning for resolution remains palpable among Tom's family, as well as others whose loved ones have gone missing, holding on to hope that one day the mountains will yield the secrets they hold, allowing all of us to find some semblance of closure. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing to the channel, give it a like, a comment, and maybe a share. But if you didn't like the story, maybe share it with someone you don't like. In any case, I'm glad you stuck around to the end.